I give it all that I got will never stop. I give it all, straight to the top, will never stop. I give it all that I have, I let it be, cause nobody's better.
Hello and welcome to Car and Bike. We have two Royal Enfields with us, both on the same engine, the Sherpa 450. And why this comparison? Because a lot of you have been asking us which one to buy, the Himalayan or the Guerrilla 450. And Shams and me, both of us have been riding these for several months now. So Shams,
Yeah, I mean, two motorcycles, so much in common, yet there's so much that separates the two. So in this video, we're talking about each one of those factors, each one of those aspects on what makes the Guerrilla as well as the Himalayan 450 similar and dissimilar to each other. And in the end, wait for the verdict because we're going to tell you what suits you more.
so it comes down to not which one is the better bike, but which one should you be looking to buy in case you're interested in either of these two motorcycles.
But before we tell you anything more about these two motorcycles, if you still haven't, please do subscribe to Car and Bike right now. Also press the bell icon, and if you like this video, do share it with everyone you know. So that was a brief look at what's common between these two motorcycles, including of course the engine, the platform, the headlamps, the dial as well. But there's a longer list of features that separates them. Pritam, you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, for starters, as you already probably know, this one's got a smaller front wheel, 17-inch, that's got a 21-inch front wheel, so that's a taller bike. And seat height is a lot different. That's got 825 to 845, adjustable from 825 to 845. This one is 780 mm, so it's a lot more accessible, made for street use. But more importantly, the chassis, the main frame is more or less the same between both bikes. The subframe is different, and of course the headstock is different. And with the smaller wheel, the steering geometry is also sharpened by 4 degrees, so it's become sharper. So this one, the Guerrilla 450, is made for city use to handle sporty riding, and that is an adventure touring bike meant for long journeys, and of course you can ride it in the city. So the Himalayan is a tall bike with 845 mm seat height. This is now on the tallest setting, 845. You can put it down to 825 also. There is also an optional 805 mm low seat available, which you want in case you find it too tall. But the Guerrilla 450 is
780 millimeters. So significant difference between these two motorcycles. But you know, when I started riding the motorcycle a couple of months back, the biggest doubt in my mind was this only: will this suit my riding stance? Because I am 6 feet tall, and 780 millimeter just sounded a bit short to me looking
on
at.
the spec sheet. It sounded too low, isn't it?
It did of course. But then as I spent more time with the motorcycle, as I kept riding it through the city traffic, I just kept easing into the bike a bit more. It kept feeling more comfortable as I rode more on the motorcycle. So it's something that didn't really bother me. It's something that's not ideal perhaps for me, 780 mm, but it's not something that comes in the way of me having a good ride on the motorcycle. The roadster design and style is very much evident. That's something you cannot avoid or ignore. It's there with you. But maybe the handlebar slightly narrower, not so much wide, would have made the experience even better.
Or you don't like it so wide?
Yeah.
Me, on the other hand, it's a personal preference also. I like the leverage the wide handle of the Guerrilla offers. So it gives me more leverage to push it around corners. So I like the wide handlebar. So that's again a subjective thing. Some people don't like
Right.
Perhaps you don't like it while filtering through traffic.
Because I spend most of my time riding through really chaotic, heavy traffic
Right.
in office times.
Right.
So that is something that, you know, you've got to be mindful of.
Yeah. So Himalayan at the tallest setting now 845 mm. My height for reference is 5 feet 9. I can comfortably touch both sides very comfortably, no problem whatsoever. In fact, on the lower setting, which is 825 mm, I find it a little uncomfortable over long periods of time. I prefer the taller setting at 845 mm. That's just me. But yeah, you get 825 to 845, two settings on the seat, and of course, like I said before, 805 optional accessory low seat also.
So there you go, you know, not tall enough for the Himalayan or not short enough for the Guerrilla is something that should not really bother you.
So I've been riding the Himalayan for a few months now. Shams has been riding the Guerrilla 450 for a few months now, and we've had plenty of seat time with both these bikes. But now time to probably swap bikes and get, of course, you've ridden both bikes, I've also ridden both bikes, but now maybe back to back, it'll give you a new perspective,
Absolutely, right? And clear perspective on which one to go for.
I give it all that I got will never stop. I give it all. Nobody's better than me. What do you see? Give it menacing. They wanna talk, but I ain't settling. Circle is tight, feeling like where the rains. Whole lot of globetrotting, man, they don't know nothing.
So done with riding these two motorcycles where we focused on 5 key aspects. First one of which of course is very critical, which is engine, its performance, and of course the gearing as well, because there also there's a difference. So Pritham, why don't you take it from here and tell us what did you feel different while riding the Guerrilla?
Well, number one, this is a lighter bike. It's full 11 kgs lighter, and the throttle, it feels snatchy, it feels a little jerky, but that's the character of the motorcycle. It feels more urgent, it wants to go ahead. You must have also felt it.
I felt it. After riding the Himalayan, I did feel that you have a more urgent sort of a throttle response on the Guerrilla for sure.
Yeah, so that's the personality of the bike. This is meant to carve twisty roads. This is meant for short bursts around town, so you get a more urgent pickup, so to speak. And that's apparent. As soon as you open the throttle, the Guerrilla feels like it wants to go, more eager to go than the Himalayan. That's not to say the Himalayan is lethargic or slow, more or less the same power. And as far as vibes go, the characters are the same. There is some vibe, 4,500 to 5,500 RPM, you will feel some buzz, and not so alarming. They will not really rob you of the performance or rob you of the experience of the bike. But the problem that I have with both these bikes is that buzz is prominent between 90 and 110, and that's when you sit, if you're going on a highway, that's when you sit in a cruising speed. So it's there, but it's not very alarming, not much to complain about. So that's there. But this is the lighter bike. If you find the Himalayan too heavy, then the lighter bike, shorter seat height, that gives the Guerrilla a definite advantage in everyday riding conditions.
I think the weight makes a difference. It makes a quite significant difference between the way these two motorcycles run, and that's across situations. So either in traffic or on empty roads, you can sense that the Himalayan is, of course, independently a very good machine, but not as eager as the Guerrilla when you're riding it out, and also gearing, right? Because you do feel that off the blocks, you have a much quicker motorcycle there.
Correct.
Than this one.
Yeah.
So that is something that you got to be mindful of, because really matters where is your motorcycle going to run more, on what kind of situations, traffic, no traffic, empty roads, and then you take a call on which one to pick.
So if you want a eager, quicker motorcycle, the Guerrilla should take care of those needs. Himalayan, not to say it's not quick, but this one feels quicker from the get-go. So when we're talking about riding in different conditions, what also matters is comfort, ride quality, dynamics. So what do you think about the Himalayan compared to the Guerrilla?
Well, I'm telling you honestly, there's a 50mm difference in the travel, and that makes quite a difference. And when I was riding this motorcycle today, for the last couple of hours, I did feel that, I was on a superior motorcycle. Clearly, I could take on the bumps and the potholes with maybe significantly more confidence, and that is something that really aids in you riding for much longer without getting tired. Not sure if I can do that on the Guerrilla. If I ride this bike for 3 hours, and if I ride that for 3 hours, I think I'll feel more tired there.
Yeah, correct. So if you're riding, as long as you're riding on smooth roads like this one, Guerrilla, no problem whatsoever. The moment you get into broken roads, potholes, no roads, then it's the Himalayan which has a definite advantage. The suspension is super smooth. It's almost like a magic carpet. It floats over anything that you throw at it. So that's a definite advantage on the ride quality of the Himalayan. So it depends on where you're going to be riding. If you're going to be primarily riding on the street, within the city, or maybe go for a breakfast ride with your buddies on a Sunday morning, Guerrilla will give you lots of fun, lots of enjoyment. But if you want to go slightly off-road, even over broken roads, take few potholes, it is the Himalayan which has a definite advantage there, for sure.
And next, of course, is very critical, which is how far will you go on a tank full in both these motorcycles? And there again, a big difference, right, Pritham?
Absolutely. So Himalayan comes with a bigger tank, 17 liters capacity. This one comes with a 11-liter tank. Whether you're riding in the city, whether you're going a long distance, you will need to visit the petrol pump far too often on this one compared to that, right?
Right, yeah, absolutely.
It also depends on your riding style, where you're riding. If you're riding it primarily, like you said, you're riding it primarily in traffic, bumper to bumper traffic, you will probably get about 20-22 kilometers per liter on this. That one, I've been primarily using it on open roads, so it gives me slightly better. Then again, fuel consumption depends on where you're riding, what conditions you're riding on, so all those things matter as well. So yeah, but bottom line, this, you will need to make more trips to the fuel bunk. regardless of your riding style, regardless of the riding conditions, that will give you slightly more range for sure. So in terms of braking performance, the Guerrilla 450 gets a 10 mm smaller front disc than the Himalayan 450, but in everyday riding conditions, you won't feel too much of a difference between the braking performance.
I agree, I didn't feel that. After riding both the motorcycles back to back, I felt it was quite similar. And I didn't feel that I'm riding a superior motorcycle in terms of braking. But of course, there's one important point, right? Which is switchable ABS.
Correct. So this is made for a street, and of course for the hooligans in you who want to slide your rear around, this doesn't get switchable ABS, but the Himalayan gets a switchable ABS for off-road use, and you can slide down, lock the rear wheel. This non-switchable ABS.
Makes sense for both of them, right?
Yeah.
And finally, the last critical point is off-roading, because we've discussed so much of it in the last few minutes that becomes critical, because we're riding the Himalayan today as well in this comparison. So here you have a proper off-roader. It'll take you places and beyond. How close or not close is Guerrilla to that?
Well, the Guerrilla is, Royal Enfield calls this a neo-retro roadster, but I would call it a neo-retro roadster / scrambler. Look at those block button tires. I mean, it can do pretty much everything that the Himalayan does, but of course, the big problem is the lack of ground clearance. And let me say it again, this is not meant for off-road riding. So it is meant for street use, but yeah, you can go over small bumps, muddy patches without any problem. So it's there, but 200 mm and 200 mm plus ground clearance as a definite advantage if you are going to be riding off-road. So if you're primarily sticking to the street, some small patches, broken patches, the Guerrilla will do it all, and it will give you loads of enjoyment while you're at it.
So, verdict time, and before that, let's talk about the prices, because here once again a significant difference between how these two motorcycles are priced. The Guerrilla is almost 50,000 rupees cheaper when compared to the Himalayan 450. But Preetham, what is more important here is not the prices, but the reasons for which you would want to buy either of these two machines.
Absolutely. Depends on what kind of uses you will be doing with either of these motorcycles. If you are a kind of person who wants to go long distance riding, you want to go to the mountains, you want to take on some gravel roads, some broken roads, then the Himalayan should be your choice. But if 90% of the time you are going to be primarily riding on tarmac, primarily riding in the city, then the Guerrilla, don't discount the Guerrilla. It's a fun motorcycle. In fact, I have had lots of fun riding this motorcycle. So it's a superb fun machine really. And so it's difficult to say. So it depends on what kind of uses you will be doing. If you're primarily riding it on the street, go for the Guerrilla. And even then, if you have any questions, test ride those back to back. That will answer your question very clearly, because if once you get on the bike, get the stance, get the height, both bikes, then that answer will be very clear to you rather than us telling you.
Right.
But I have a question for you.
No, I have a question for you.
You go ahead.
But before that, I have a question for you as well. If you are in the market to buy one of these two motorcycles, which one will you choose and why? And the same question to Preetham as well.
Very loaded question, very difficult question. I have a thing for adventure motorcycles, so the Himalayan I'm slightly more inclined towards, but nowadays I don't get to travel so much on motorcycles. I don't get to go to the mountains on the motorcycles without thinking about reviewing it or thinking about shooting and all that. So if my primary usage is the street, the Guerrilla is dollops of fun. So it's very difficult to choose, but I think for my own personal use, I will pick the Guerrilla as well.
There you have it.